Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope you're all doing well on this Sunday. Or Sunday's a school night, right? So it's always a Sunday. I'm just going to turn off my fan because that is bugging me. Oh, I always forget to turn the fan off. Hope you're all doing really well this 10th of August. Not very long in the transfer window now. Hope we've all had our summer holidays or just about to go on our summer holidays. I hope you've had a good day in whatever you've done. I'd love to know in the chat where you're from, what you've been up to. Tulip Plays says, hi Jason Bourne. Hello, Tulip Plays, legend, absolute legend of the chat as per usual, one of our mods. Fantastic to have you here. Thank you for joining me. Sometimes I take that for granted that the same old faces will turn up, but it's a massive thank you. Thank you for me. I hope you're all doing really well in whatever we've been doing in our lives. So it's always nice to have you back. So I thought tonight it'd be one of those shows where you can be led by you. I've got some things to say. Obviously, there's a thumbnail. I think Sunday should be one of those chilled sort of shows where we go through it as we always do, and you guys get into your chat. And if this is your first time here, then I saw his pace, and now I'm a believer. That would be a fantastic song. I really hope they start to sing that. That would be amazingly fantastic. If you have just joined, welcome, or you're going to join, or you're watching this after, please don't forget to give us a like, favorite, and subscribe. Get into this chat. What I will say is this chat is fantastic, full of some of the most intelligent people. Also, we do get infiltrated, or try to get infiltrated from time to time, which is absolutely fine for me. There are some great fans from some other clubs as well who come on here. More than welcome to enter that. But I will say, if you are going to come here and there is some banter, as long as it's friendly banter, everything that we do on here is respectful. We will respect your opinions. I will say this. I'm not a dictator. I try not to stifle opinions. Obviously, we can disagree on different things, and that's I think is important, because then it means we learn. Maybe we don't change our views, but it just means that we get to learn from others and get to see how not only other United fans think, but how we think as well as a community. So where are we? I think probably let's get the Baleba thing done. We can talk through that because Brighton have come out with a couple of things today on that as well. So I'll start off with this Baleba thing. Well, I saw this today. So this morning, I saw it from Ross Harwood, and he's an independent guy. Now, obviously these reports have come out over the last couple of days about how he's agreed terms, etc., and that kind of stuff. So for all intents and purposes, Baleba wants to come to the club, and we are, we've done the hard bit, right? And I tell you something that I did see as well. Chip plays hoping for Ghana 40 plus 10 add-ons, then Haaland from Milan with 40 options, Sancho 15 anywhere. We need to sell them all, and again we can come on to that as well. I think that's where we should go tonight. I think that then feeds into maybe if you want to talk about the transfer window, kind of see where we want to go from there. So Baleba, I saw this morning at 1:30. I could have gone live with it really this morning. I saw this from Ross Harwood. Ross Harwood, for me, has been spot on already. He's an independent guy. Maybe you don't know who he is, but I think he's absolutely fantastic. Transfer United is another one from a couple of days ago who've been quite good. And I got sent some stuff as well about the Donnarumma stuff and kind of where we're sort of at with that. Maybe like a loan deal potentially on that. There is some stuff from Fabrizio that's come out about that. We can talk about that as well. So Baleba broke 1:30 this morning. And I think we're of an opinion on here, and I have been of the opinion that I'm calm. I think that we will ultimately get this deal done. We can talk about price, and do you think we should get this deal done, and can we get this deal done for the kind of price that we're talking about? And let's just get into things. So Brighton, they had a CEO kind of meet thing today, and they're just talking about kind of different players and like how they sell players. Now, I think one of the things that we should think about ourselves is Baleba. So yes, we've agreed terms, and we've agreed and he's agreed to come to us. He's put in a transfer request as well. So I think that's important to note, and it's important to say that I think Baleba wants to come to the club. Now, if it was a different sort of club that we're dealing with, we couldn't, as a club ourselves, if somebody come in and wanted one of our players, it's not something that we particularly do because we're a big club. Now, I think it's fair to say that Brighton, this is no disrespect to them whatsoever, but Brighton know what they are as a club. Now, in terms of stature, it's Brighton 6, 7, 8 sort of years ago come into the Premier League and surprised a lot of people. Now, they are sort of that club who go for those sort of out there managers who are very good at scouting. I believe one of the first people to use the sort of Moneyball type of way to get players, and they've become very, very good. Other clubs have started to try to copy what they do, but they're so far ahead. They're so good at what they do that trying to copy them, you still be years behind them. So where that's important for me, as on this deal, and like other deals that they do, so they know their place. They know they buy players at a good price. They see them. And then what they do is they then get them. They know they're at a certain club. Every player has a price, and I think that's clear. Yes, they may say, look, he's not for sale this window, but every Brighton player has a price, and that is how they operate. They're so good and so swift and efficient at what they do. Baleba will leave, and they'll have a succession plan of players. They'll know, and they'll go out and they'll use that money, and they'll go and buy the next big thing, because that's what they do time and time again. It's like a conveyor belt. So when we're talking about this deal, even though I'm confident that I believe that we will get this done, I believe it's going to be a high price. This is the point, is that Brighton do not have to shift, and I don't think they will shift on the price. Maybe we could do a 75 plus 25 plus 15, 18 plus 20, but I think we are going to come in and around that 100 million mark. Now, Brighton know that next year he's going to be 115 million pound player, and people are going to buy. I think he'll have a great season, and I think they know that people will come in for that. So for us, I do believe it's a one-shot thing. It's a one-shot deal for us to go and get him, not because we're going to walk in through the door and we are demanding these players, which we should be doing, but we do need this player, and I think it's abundantly clear that we need this player. So I think probably the biggest thing for me in this deal is that we need to, as a fan base and as a club, which I do think we know, is that Brighton don't have to, and they notoriously are good at getting the price for their players. Now, Pedro, I think Chelsea got him for 50. They were quoted 80 million, but I think that's slightly different circumstances here. They don't want to sell him. Exactly, chat. If you're in the chat, don't forget to give us a like, favourite and subscribe. Even if you get into this chat, please get your comments in. Don't be scared. I try not to jump down people's necks. We all have our opinion, and I think it's important to share the opinion. On here, if you're a Liverpool fan, we do get some in here. Feel free to come on here. Spending nearly £500 million, and you can chuck net spend at me. That's fine. It is net spend, but ultimately, spending nearly £500 million, or planning to spend £500 million, and again, not winning today. But there are lessons there for us, and we can talk about that as well. So I think Liverpool today is a lesson that, yes, they're going to come good. Of course they are. But I think that's a lesson for us, and managing our expectations as to what we've been talking about as well. So I think the Liverpool game today, I think, is a really good example for us to look at that today. If we make those sales around Baleba, another Lemons or Donna. Yeah, so I think that's a good point, and we'll come on to that as well. So I do think that Baleba is... I don't think we would have entered this deal unless we knew Brighton. I don't think... I want to give... So many of you have been saying that Ineos are cooking, the football people are cooking. So I'm now going to say, look, if they are cooking, they would have entered this deal, in my opinion, with the eyes wide open. They should know how Brighton deals. So if Ineos, etc., are cooking, as a lot of you say that they are, then they would go and get this deal done. I think 100 million, to some of you may seem expensive. I'd love to know your opinions on that. If you think 100 million is expensive, do you think we can do the deal? I don't think we can back out now. I genuinely don't. As Tulip Play says, you know, if we get these deals done, I don't think getting these deals done impact us getting them in the first place. We still need to get sales because we still need to balance the books. So we do need to get these in for this financial window. So I do think we need to get player sales done, but getting Baleba is not going to be, if we don't sell these players. Chief Herb says the other rivals are trying to get him as well. It doesn't matter. Chief, again, if I was them, it wouldn't surprise me, but we've got in there early. I don't think we're going to do a Newcastle. I can't see that happening. I think we're too far along. Again, City, if they were going to do this deal, they would find it equally as difficult. Would they just go, here's like 100 million? Again, they're not that club. I don't think City, for all their faults, and I'm not bigging them up, they don't just go out and pay silly money. Well, the Grealish deal maybe would argue that, but I think they're pretty good at, you know, getting their players at a fair price. So I'm not worried about that. The only sticking point for me here is if United have gone into this deal with the eyes wide open, which again, to back some of you up, and I'm playing an advocate here, is that if this fan base, and I have to acknowledge the people in this chat as well, if Ineos are cooking as you say they are, then I think they'll get this deal done. They would have gone in there, known the price. These are football people in charge, and they wouldn't have entered this deal unless they were prepared to pay that money. So I'm chilled, I'm calm. I think there is a plan B, but there are only a certain amount of time left in this window to get this deal done, and I think we are going to get this deal done. So I think this is where we are now. There's a bit of a conspiracy theory going round. I've heard it around here and there. So Baleba will come in for the Bruno role. We're trying to get him as earlier. Exactly that. So I think where Baleba for me comes into this team, I think he comes into this team, and as we've spoken on here quite a few times, is he carries the ball with purpose. You know, he's a tackler. He's a proper defensive midfield monster, physical, quick, carries that ball, you know, breaks up play quite a lot. So I think what he'll do is I think he'll play in the pivot, which I think is really key for us. I think we need ball winners and ball carriers. I think he'll be, as you kids say, a baller. And I think he will be, you know, I think he'll be transformative to this team. We can go on later on, if I remember it, as to where I think we're going to finish in the team. So I want to link the Liverpool result today to the Baleba stuff, to where we've been in pre-season, and where I actually think that we're going to finish. I think Baleba is great. I think that in an ideal situation, you'd pair him with a Ugarte. You'd pair him with a Mainu. I do think Mainu will come good. I hope he does. But Fernandes is going to play. So I'm sort of hoping that Mainu, that Fernandes this year, maybe a Mainu, is going to kind of be the understudy to the Fernandes role, and maybe Ugarte will be that versatile player that can come in and kind of play, you know, if Baleba's a little bit tired, and sort of do that as well. So I think hopefully we'll utilise an Ugarte and Mainu this season. Casemiro will sort of be there on the outskirts, kind of just as and when, or maybe a Carabao Cup player. So that's sort of what I'm hoping, because we definitely do need that sort of pivot in that team as well. So next, where should we go next? So Garnacho, I think if you go with the player sales. So where we are in the player sales. So Fabrizio Romano today talking about the Donnarumma stuff today. So obviously we were led to believe, and there are reports out there and whatever else, you know, just search that it is out there, and Fabrizio has come out on this, that basically there's a deal to be done there for the player. Now he has two options. He can wait to leave until next summer. 26 million is the quoted price. I think as the window maybe progresses, maybe that drops, maybe not. But you know, he is worth that in anybody's money. Now he is there to do, and I think that is, those opportunities don't come. So Ronin says, with Baleba and a keeper, Amrin would have his starting 11 locked in. Hopefully he can compete his squad in the next summer transfer window. Ronin, again, these are good points, and we can bring all those in as well. So I think you've made some good points there, and I think we'll have a good old conversation once we've got through this bit about where we should finish, where I think we'll finish, and why Liverpool today is a really good example of, spoiler alert, as to why I think we need to temper expectations and why we do need pressure. Somebody that comes on here called Niche Fan, and me and him, I think we share the same opinion on this one as well. But I'd love to know your opinions just to get that started. So I think there's a deal to do. I think we have a wage structure now in place. So would he fit into that wage structure? Now, much like Shesko, and again, so I've heard this today. So I was listening to TalkSport today, just because it's on, and their opinions make me laugh really more than a lot of stuff. And there's a load of Newcastle fans, and they've reported it themselves, saying that basically the only reason why Shesko came to us is because we're prepared to pay more wages and we overpay for players. And Shesko's priming. Shesko for me is a watershed moment for me, because we've proven we offered slightly less money and less money to the player, and he came to us based on the project. He came to us based on the club. He came to us based on who we are within the wage structure. And again, if you've listened to me before, I'm on Ineos's back, the football side's back, because I have to keep them accountable. But I think they did well there. Rob, evening JB in our chat. Rob, legend, my friend. Hope you're doing really, really well tonight. If you are watching for the first time, get into the chat, like, favourite, and subscribe, of course. Even if it's just to get into the chat. I know people come on here and they give me banter, which is absolutely cool. But this chat, get in there with the chat. I would say to you, give this chat some respect. Otherwise, they'll be on you. We are like a little family here. Rob is like a legend of the chat. Now we see the same names and faces, and we are our own little community on here, and we are like a little family. And as many new people to the family as we can, the better. So goalkeeper situation. So for me, Shavin, hey mate, I hope you do. How are you? Do you think clubs are strategically delaying buying our players so that we don't get anyone else vested interest playing in? Very intelligent comment. I like that. Welcome, my friend. I'm very well, and hope you are too. I think they strategically. So what I think possibly before, but what we've done, which I do like, and again, I'm starting to give the football in your side a little bit of credit here. We're going out and doing business, right? That is a chance that we're taking. That's a chance that these players are taking. But what we're saying is we're going to buy our players. We're not dependent on sales. So that automatically makes people like, oh Jesus, like they are not the same club anymore. And I do think you're right. They are strategically trying to buy our players at a low cost. So the Garnacho thing, that's perfect. We can segue into that as well right now. So the keeper situation is this before we segue into that. So I think that's a good segue. Is that he's there to do a deal. I'm 50-50 on it. I think Lemens would be not an equally as good deal to do, but I think that would be a fantastic deal. I'd love to do both deals, so don't discount it. But I think there is a lot of work to do. Do you think we could get Baleba maybe on loan? I do, Rob. I do. I think we could get both. I really do, and I think we are trying to get both. But keep it situation, he'd have to lower his wages. I do believe that. But like Shesko, brand deals coming to the club. So let's see what we can do there. But I do think, I think we can get both. I think we have, and we do have to try, which is a great segue into the comment before, which is I do think that clubs are trying to strategically, obviously not pay some money for our players, right? I think that's in their interest. And what we've done poor as a club this season, which Amarin has to take some of the responsibility of that, is that we have devalued our players. We devalued a 21-year-old with so much Premier League experience. He's worth 55 of anybody's money. Now, I will give Ineos even more credit if they can shift him. So I think Tulip, has already said 40 plus 10 So if we can do something along those lines, he will go. But as we just said there, are they strategically trying to buy a player so we don't get anybody else? They are strategically, I do believe, trying to get a lower price. I don't think that's going to impact us as such. But as long as we get a certain value for our players, I think we're fine. They are trying to do it, and I agree with you, but I don't think that's going to impact us. And I'll tell you for why. I've got a bit of a conspiracy theory as to why we're able to buy these players. And you can tell me if it's a conspiracy, but I do have a conspiracy. Oh, this damn cold is still knocking around. So, I think that Bruno Fernandes, quite possibly, I think there could be an agreement in place next season. So our future is Kobe, Baleba, Kone, Ugarte, Collier as backup. If we buy everyone this summer, what do you think the next window would be? That's a very, very good point. I think Collier would go out on loan. Kone, I've not seen him play. I can't see it. I hope he is. Collier for me right now is a no, only because of what we've done and what we've got. And there's if we get to the Champions League. With Collier, I think he needs a loan. Kone, I think he needs a loan. With the amount of people in front of these players, I think Kone needs a loan. I think Kone is almost a bit like, for me, Kone's like a unicorn player, right? Whereas we've got this player, and everybody's kind of in the fan base going, oh, this player is a great young player. He looks great. He's this great player. I genuinely can't tell you. I've seen him play a couple of times for the youth and whatever else. But for me, I'd send him on loan. I don't dispute he might be one for the future. But unless he gets to play games and gets to... I would send him on a championship loan. I really, really would. Ready? Come on, United. We don't need a keeper yet. A midfield is fragile. Sell Bruno, buy Baleba, and Guerra. Radley, welcome to the chat, my friend. I will come back to that. I think we do need a keeper. I think I agree with you on the midfield 100%. I'd go there first, and I think we are. Bruno, I was on board with that, my friend. I was on board with selling him. It's not going to happen this season, and it's a bit of my conspiracy theory as well. So if I don't mention it, remind me on that one. But I do think that there's a little bit of a conspiracy on Fernandes, and as I've said, I think Amarin's going to live and die in that position. Fernandes should have been sold, in my opinion, but I understand why he's not, and I understand why people don't want to sell him, and I'll get on board with him this year, but he really needs to pull up trees and really, really do something different this season. So I do think Kobe and Baleba are our future. I do think that Baleba and Kobe would work at some point. I think that Kobe, I'm hoping he's the understudy to Fernandes. I think we'll see him this season. I think Kobe has to do something this season. So I do think that will give him maybe this year and next year. And I agree with you. I think it's Baleba and Mainu at some point. And when Fernandes then goes, Ugarte again, I think Ugarte is going to be the Baleba understudy for now, and then Kobe will be the Fernandes understudy. And then Kone on loan, Collier on loan. I'm not adverse to those two. We've only got 38 games this season. I know we've got Carabao Cup games, but I don't want to see these young players rot in this team as such. I think they like a championship loan would be brilliant for them. I think the championship, they learn so much. I'd love to see them go on loan just to progress and then come back as better players and then maybe assess them maybe next season. Hesty says Amarin is in your signing. They can't let him fail, so they've tried to do everything they can to back him. I like this Baleba deal. Yeah, agreed, Hesty. I think he's their guy, and I think it does have to work. I think I agree with you 100% over that, which is I think is a good thing. And I think that's a good pivot as well. Actually, that's a good pivot. I think as well to say what I wanted to talk about on the Amarin thing and the players thing and the Liverpool thing, because there is a connection for me, and I think that's a really good talking point that we're probably going to spend some time on this evening. I think over the last month, United have stepped up a gear in the transfer market because other top teams have got even stronger. Rob, I think you're spot on, mate. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think Hesty, Rob, I think you guys are absolutely spot on. Radley, we don't need a keeper yet. I think we do, my friend. But I get it. I get, I get why, midfield may be more important to you. I can't disagree with that, my friend. Baleba, I agree with. I agree with selling Fernandez. That's not going to happen, so I just got to get on board with it. Guerra for me, potentially next season, but again, I think he's more of a number 10. He's that kind of. I think it'd be a great deal to do, but I just think we've got too many players like him at the moment. I don't disagree that it'd be an upgrade, but I think right now that's just not going to get done. Maybe he's one for the future. Maybe he's one for next season, and if he's around. So let's see what happens there. So let's talk about. I think one of the things I think we all need to think about this as to where we think we're going to finish this season. So I've got a pen and paper because I'm writing stuff down as I think about this. So Liverpool today, and I'm going to use them as the example. So again, a fantastic team. They've got some amazing plays. Some of the stuff they did today was brilliant. Frimpong scoring that goal. I think that's a fantastic signing. He looks brilliant. Ekitike took his goal really well. I remember the Charity Shield where it was Nunez against Haaland, and Haaland didn't have a great game, and Nunez scored, and it was that battle between the two, and you look at what happened there, right? So Haaland became, is one of the best strikers in the world and best strikers in the league. Now Liverpool they'll talk about their net spend, which I think is important to them. That's fine, but let's look at the players that they bought, and they spent $500 million on their team of worth of players, right? And that's not to dig out on them. That's a fact. Now, when you look at that team, the players they bought today, they should have been romping this game. They should have been walking this game. Palace again. You look at their team, play for player, and they should have been walking that game, right? And this is why I think it's really important. It's really, really important to look at that today. And I will come back to this. I'll read some of the chats. Is that it's really important for us as to why when we sign Baleba and we're looking at our players and we get another keeper and we get Shesko and we got these players, and this is why it's really important for us to temper. I think Liverpool are a good example today as to why running instead of overpaying. Yeah, I'd rather go for Lemens, Pio Suzuki. Personally, I think Donnarumma is too error prone and will get crucified by the English media and online fans. Running, do you know what? As an opinion, right? That matches up with some of the. So I do get sent stuff now. People email me stuff from like other clubs and that kind of stuff. Like not people who are close to the club or anything, just normal fans, the same as us. And some of them have been saying that about him. He's very error prone. Like they some of them see him as an Onana. Now, I find that hard to believe in some respects because he's going to leave the club. He's going to leave the club and maybe they're just bitter. But it's really interesting. It's really interesting how some of the PSG fans see him in that way, and you have that opinion as well. I didn't really see the French league as such. I saw him in the Champions League. I think he's a really good shot stopper, and he's very tall and he's very, very good. But if you do look at some of his stats compared to other people, you could argue that, maybe he's not as, maybe he's not as good as people think. I'm still of the opinion that I think he's great, but I do agree that we shouldn't overpay for him. I do agree. If he doesn't fit into the wage structure of what it is we're trying to do, there are other goalkeepers out there like Lemens and the keepers that you've mentioned there, and I do think that we go for those. And let's not be the old club who then we actually, as you say, the media will be straight all over him, and that poses a problem. And when you go and goal for us, you know what it's like, right? So we need to really be careful with that keeper signing. So I do think we need to be careful with this signing. He's a Riola client or the Riola team. Now he's passed away, and they're notorious making deals expensive. So I don't disagree with you. I'm of the opinion if we can get him at a good price, we get him in a chance to get one of the best goalkeepers in the world. We take that risk. I think it's worth the risk. But again, I can't. Your opinion does really fit into some of the stuff that I've read and been sent myself. So it's really interesting how our community is now already starting to sort of bring those opinions. And I think it's really important when we're looking for a keeper, because we've obviously been stung quite a bit in the past. Shivram, he was clever. How clever it was for Sir Jim to wait until late in the window, letting the other top teams draw out their wallets before making their moves. Shivram, I think that's an interesting opinion. I don't share it. Sir Jim has nothing to do with this. Sir Jim has hired experts in their field. I don't think it was clever. I think it was luck. So Delap was our choice as striker. If we'd have got him, we wouldn't have gone for Shesko. So I don't think it was clever. I think some of it's luck. As for letting other teams dry up their wallets, mate, we didn't let other clubs do anything, and I respect that opinion, and that might be true, but I don't believe that for a second, mate. We didn't let City go and do their business for 6 players and get 6 great plays. We didn't let Liverpool spend 105, 110 on Wirtz, one of the best young German midfielders in the Bundesliga, probably one of the best midfielders in the world. We didn't let them spend 774 million on the Ekitike deal. Frimpong was a deal to do there. So I don't think we've let, and the Kirkes deal was great. So I don't think that's true, my friend. I think what we've done is we've realised, and as one of the comments says already, I think that we weren't expecting other teams around us to strengthen as much, because that's not what Liverpool would typically do. Liverpool, City do it, but Liverpool to a degree don't win a league and then go out and then spend $500 million. I know you got to factor in their net spend, and again, I admire them for that as well. It's not clever, my friend. It's a coincidence. I believe it's luck. As I say, I'm not trying to argue your opinion down. This is just my opinion, and I don't know if other people share the opinion. If it was planned, it's a great plan. But I think to say that we let other people spend their money and then we've gone in for the rest, think about it. It doesn't make sense, because you'd want to be in there for the best players first. So for me, that logically doesn't make sense. I think we've been very lucky. I think we've been fortunate, and we're never going to know the outcome of this, right? But I think we've been very lucky. I think we've been fortunate to get the players that we have. I don't think we've overpaid just yet, but I think our strategy was scattergun at best, and I think the signings of other clubs has really shocked us and forced us to go out there and find some money. I can't tell you where it's from just yet, but it's forced us to do that. But again, these opinions, there are different opinions. I can't, if that's your opinion, that's fine. But I personally do think it's just coincidence. In my opinion, no matter how good a keeper is, if the midfield and defence are weak, it's useless. I think we can cobble together a midfield, as we saw in the last game. That pivot is awful. I think you're right, but imagine if you've. So, this is my view on it, and again, I think people watch football in a different way, and I think we're all entitled to that. So what I see is, I agree, we need a midfielder, and we are going to get a midfielder. But if we get Baleba, and we've got this good front three, and we've got this bad keeper in goal, so we've got a good pivot. Our defence is okay, and we've got a good front three. Now, the problem with Onana in goal is he doesn't inspire confidence. And what happens is that infects the back three, the back four. Imagine if you got somebody behind you in goal, and basically he's crap, and he's awful, he's error prone, he's not confident. That doesn't just impact him, that impacts the whole defence, then impacts the whole team, that everybody then in the back of their mind knows that he's he's basically prone to an error. So everybody then is got in the back of their mind there should be no weak links in that team. So whilst I don't disagree with you, a midfielder should be bought first. I think if you neglect the goalkeeper and just say Onana is good enough, Onana will cost us 10 to 15 points. We're talking about a keeper that knocked us out of the Champions League. We're talking about a keeper who's just had a horrific season. So whilst I do agree that I think the midfield is really important and should be addressed first, if we don't sort the Onana thing out as well, that's going to cost us many points. We may be lucky, he may have a worldy season, but I think that goalkeeper position is so important, not only to the goalkeeper position itself, but to the confidence of the whole team and to that back four as well. So I think that they're equally as important. Whilst I agree that midfield is probably slightly more important, as we all saw and have seen, I think goalkeeper, I think underestimating that keeper could really hinder us this season. So Ram says, but GNG for Baleba this late is a plan, else someone would get him easily. Again, we'll never know. I don't think we plan to get Baleba. I don't. I truly don't. I don't disagree with you. I will never know. We will never know what the plan was. I'll give you some credit on the basis that we are driving to the data. So what we're doing is now we're not necessarily we are culling our scouts and using the data of players. So for example, like we would go on to FB, the site, so you can check out player stats. I'm not saying that that's what they do. They might do. But where we can look at player stats, right, we could pretty much go out, look at that, and say we think this player is good. We have no idea how they're going to play in a team. But based on stats, you can bring players in. So I do think that they've probably had him on a list. But I don't think we were planning to get him this year. I think that we've been shocked by what Liverpool have done. You can't compete. Hello, my friend. Evening. I hope you're doing really well. Don't forget, Liverpool didn't buy anyone last year and they've made up for it this year. That is true, but you look at their side that they had, we were nowhere near that team. If we'd have kept the 15th place team this season, we would have been horrifically bad. Onana will let us down. The back three don't. Exactly. I'm with you on that one. He's intrinsically he will impact this team and it will be absolutely horrific. We do need a defensive midfielder, but for me it starts from the back and the keeper who's solid must succeed. We can get both, and I think we will get both. But as a discussion point, sort of talking about if we have to choose one or the other, I think you can land on either place. For me, I don't like it. But for me, I'd rather get a goalkeeper first because I think that we could cobble together a midfield. It wouldn't be great, but I just think that goalkeeper impacts the whole of the team so much. I think that's too important not to do that. Hesty, let's see how performance EPL is not working. Yep, Shavram, cool. So the point I was trying to make before is we get our players in, okay. So we get Baleba in, so we've got Šeško in up front. We've got Cunha in Burmo. We'll get a Baleba or another and a goalkeeper. And then obviously we do need to get some more players, but it won't be this season. Now, we've spoken about this, where you think we should finish. I'd love to know where you think we should finish this season, where you think we should finish or where you think we should finish. So bearing in mind, we would have spent north of 300 million coming up for that. Okay, now Liverpool today, and as I said, this is no disrespect to Liverpool, this is not trying to gloat, because at the end of the day, start the season, but it is what it is. But what I wanted to take out from that game is that, so you got Crystal Palace, okay, and I know some Palace fans, they were happy today, celebrating today, and so they should do. So there were times in the game where Liverpool looked great. Frimpong, I think he's a great signing. Kirkes is a great signing. Wirtz is a great signing. They've signed some great players. Isaac as well. Now, what they showed today for me was, and I think we need to temper our expectations, and I tell you for a reason why. So they've spent 400 million, or going to spend that. They still need to gel as a team. Just because you put a bunch of players together, you look at Madrid when they had Beckham and they had Carlos and they had, trying to think who they had in that team. They had Ronaldo, and they had all these stars. And I think they won a league. I don't think they did kind of much more than that. And then they kind of pivoted and shifted away from these global stars. They had Zidane in the team as well. Irrespective of X number of players we signed, with the only thing fighting for fifth of max players post 12 games. Let's see what the real do is. Shivram, you're making some good points, my friend, in there. And again, I'll bring into that as well. I will always say at the start of this, every season I expect first place. Every season I expect first place. You have to have those standards. If we were a Newcastle, if we were a Sunderland, and yet that is a dig at some of those clubs just because they've been arseholes to us, is that you don't expect first. You basically, if you finish in the top, I mean, for a Newcastle, they were celebrating a Carabao Cup or the League Cup like they just won the Champions League. That is how low their expectations are, right? Their expectations are so low that literally they were lauding that cup around like it was a Champions League or the league, right? So that is how low their expectations are. Okay, our expectations, as Liverpool's were, when Liverpool were finishing, 10th and they were finishing 8th, and they weren't great. Their expectations were finishing first. That is why, they were trying to strive and come back, is because that's what they should be, and our expectation should be first. Okay, anything less than that is a failure. And number one, that puts pressure on the owners and the club. You're only as good as your last result. You're only as good, in football terms, this is a results business, and you're only as good as what you did last, as Amarin and whatever else we'll find out. This is more aimed at the club right now. So we need to demand first. Anything less than that, in my opinion, is a failure. Okay, but we all know we're not in that position just yet. So every season is a failure. Now within that, obviously we finished 15th. So to expect to go from 15th to 5th is a massive jump. Is it a failure? Yes. But would it be a success? Yes, it would be. So you can, within that failure, have bits of success as well. Now, we've just bought, or we're going to buy, a load of players and put them into this team. Now, our expectation, we need to be patient with Amarin. Shivram, mate, that is another good point, and that fits into what I'm going to say. Whether or not you agree with me, that's your opinion. Now, we get these players, and what's going to happen is when we get these players in, the media is going to pile on to us. Oh, we should be finishing 5th, and we should be finishing 4th. We should be mounting a challenge for the title, and we should be doing X, Y, and Z, right? That is, if you're looking at results, as I've just said, now I'm turning it to the team now. So the results based is based on the club, and the hierarchy, that's what I demand of the club. Now, I'm a realist, logical person. And when we're now looking at this team, and I will go back a bit, and we can all talk about this as well, right? When Ten Hag went, let's be fair to this. This was a mishmash of a team. We had different players in there. Players had sacked so many different managers, full of mercenary players. So Amarin came in, and his task was to take this team, basically with a remit of we're going to basically rip this team up and start again. And this is what we all demanded. Well, I certainly did anyway. And that's what he started to do. He came into this club. He didn't even want to start when he did, but he was forced into it. And he was told, you need to rip up this club. So this is what he did. The Rashfords, the Sanchos, the Antonys, the Malasias, Yes, he had his moments where it wasn't great. You could argue, hey JB, smashed the like. Thanks, buddy. We're all okay. Legend of the chat. And he came in, and they were on him straight away. Some of the fan base were on him straight away without looking at the task that he had to do. Yes, you could argue as a coach, could he come in and coach these players? But we need to be realistic. These players sacked many coaches. They're low IQ players, counter-attack football players that weren't his players. That wasn't his system. He's been demanding to play a system. We can talk about the system in a bit, but he wanted to come in and play his way, and he said this is going to be painful. He was smart enough to know this is going to be painful. And as the season progressed, certain players did do some stuff. Can't fast forward to the end of the season. That final was on him. He was schooled by Ange, and maybe he learnt a lot from that as well. So this season for me, it wasn't any bearing on how I felt or how I wanted to keep a manager. I think people calling for his head is naive already. I do get it. I understand. Even I've been critical, and there are some red flags. I'm not so silly enough to go, oh look, we need to back him whatever happens, because there is an argument to say maybe he's not the guy. But for me, I'm sick and tired of sacking the coaches. Now we've changed so much this team that he needs time. I've said he needs a pre-season. He needs his own players in. Ineos are clearly backing him. It's clearish now that Ineos do have a plan, and they're trying to back him. Now we can discuss about the 5-2-2-1, etc. Okay, that is what we're going to play. There are teething problems within that already. Bearing in mind this wasn't his team, still 15th in the league last season. He's only got 3 signings. The majority of those players is here, and he's had to, through no fault of his own, try to train these players and get this information into these players. Now, as Shivram says there, I agree. Dorgu, Mbeumo, Ahmad, Cunha will be a flop, and Sesko just starting. Euro and Heaven will be top tier. Interesting what you said about Cunha. I don't want to start saying these players are flops yet. I don't think it's fair. I think that let's let them play. I'm not a fan of that word flop. When we're talking about these players, I mean these players, they're coming into this team. They're new players. Shivram, I respect your opinion, and I respect that. I respect your opinion to say that. But for me, it's just not calling a player a flop already. For me, I think it's just about we need to support these players. The problem, you look at Xerxes being called a flop after like 2 games, and I were calling players flops, and they haven't even played. Cunha for me was one of the best players in pre-season. He didn't play tons of football, but I thought he was one of the best players. So irrespective of that, people are going to have their opinions, okay? So when we are now talking about this team and the players that we've signed, yes, we can all get on the sort of hype train, but Liverpool to me today really hit home with why I think we need to be patient. I think we need to be so patient with this team, not patient to the point where if we're losing every single game when we get to Christmas time and we've lost a ridiculous amount of games, even then, I think we are going to lose a bunch of games this year, but we mustn't forget we're going to try to bed in 5 new players amongst players like Luke Shaw, Delo. These players shouldn't be here. We can't get rid of that whole team already. He's already shown some bright spots with like the likes of Dorgu. I think he's been brilliant. Euro, New Crow. How long do you think Amarin gets again? How long do you think Sesko gets against Arsenal roughly? I don't think he starts against Arsenal. I want him to, but I don't know if he starts. I don't know. I want him to start. I'd hope he starts, but I don't think he starts. I think he's half an hour off the bench as well. I don't think he starts. We have to give his players time to gel. Exactly. And this is where I'm at, is I think that it's either going to go one of 2 ways, I think, this season. We're not going to finish 15th, and rival fans will have to banter us about 15th and how we're going to finish 15th, etc. So we're either going to have a blinding season where we're going to gel really quickly, we'll be up that league and we will finish 5th or 6th. I don't think that's where we're going to be this season. Judging by pre-season, and we can only judge by what we've seen, things don't go to plan. These players are going to need time to gel. You look at Sheska's only just joined, not had a pre-season with us. Mbermo's not fit, barely had a pre-season. Baleba's going to be expected to come in. He's had a pre-season, but he's still going to need time to gel in. A goalkeeper is going to need time to get used to the back four, you know. So we still have players who finished 15th last season. So we still got that mentality around the place. Amrin needs time. I think that a realistic expectation for me is going to be around about 8th. We should finish in and around 5th, but we need to give this manager time. You know, he needs another window, and I don't mean the odd play here and there. I don't even think we need to buy in the next window. I think that window's for emergency. So I think he needs another window. I think he does need a good season. We all know the knives are going to be out. We all know the knives are going to be out from this fan base. I'm not saying that people are wrong. People are entitled to their opinion, but I've always had the opinion that this is Amrin's first season. Last season he almost had a free hit. Fans didn't give him that grace. I think we were so starved for success and we're so intrinsically programmed to go, if a manager's not doing right or a player isn't doing right, then they basically should be out. We've asked for this. This is what I've asked for. This is what I've demanded. And I want to give this manager time. I think it's going to take him until Christmas to get to fully understand this team. I think we're going to draw against Arsenal. I think we're going to win a couple of games. Then we might take a couple of losses. We've got City, then Chelsea. We may lose both of those games. We may win in between those as well. We may lose to Liverpool. Probably will do. Then I do then think we will then start to get better Christmas time. I think maybe around that 18 to 20 games mark, that is when we'll start to get better. So I think we need to be patient. I know people demand things, but I think we need to change our ethos as a fan base and give him time. Let's there are people who go, for example me, I'm not Ineos's biggest fan, but if I'm prepared to go, look, you were clearly changing something, you know, you're trying to do something here, you've got your manager in, I don't think you can be a hypocrite and say, well, actually, Ineos are doing well. We think they're cooking. They bought all these players. They've opened like a new training facility that is amazing. That's something that I can't doubt that for a second. They've got a coaching that they believe is right, but then people are clamouring for a sack. So you're either on board with Ineos or you're not, and then if you are, you want to sack this player. I'm on board with the club, in my opinion, as in not the Glazers and not Ineos together. I'm there with the fans, and I'm on board with the historic club as to what we should do. And as somebody's already mentioned in the chat, and I'll come back to that, is basically Fergie. People who are not old enough to remember this, right? Fergie came into this club after winning the Scottish League with Aberdeen. Okay, people don't realise how difficult that is. That is literally like winning the league with, maybe not Leicester, but it literally is like breaking like the dominance and winning that league. That simply didn't get done. Those Celtic teams and the Rangers teams around the late 70s and the 80s, you know, they were absolutely immense. Like they were great teams. So for him to come in to do that and then beat Real Madrid in the old, not European Cup, but in, I think, the old Cup Winners' Cup or wherever it was, to do that is unheard of with Aberdeen. And then he came to this club. There were great expectations. There was a drinking culture. People don't get, like, in his first couple of seasons, he was dreadful. Like, it was awful. He had to change Fergie came in and changed the culture, changed the players, implemented a new playing style, implemented youth, you know. And I get criticised on here sometimes for talking about the past and harking back to the past, right? It's not a nostalgia thing as to why I want to look good. You look back on the past because the past is relevant now, because that's how you do things. That's how you learn. You know, people get given time. It's only when you get given time do you do stuff. And Amrin now is very similar. You know, there's a culture. There's a culture in this team, toxic culture within this team. And now Amarin is coming in and doing these different things. And because we're so used to sacking managers and things don't go well, instead of laying blame at the Glazers and the club, we lay the blame on the door of the manager. And we need to give him time. Like Fergie got time. And I get it's a different era, but we need to give him time. And yes, we're going to have spent loads and loads of money, but I believe that we'll be given time. So even if you finish 8th this year, I do think we will. I genuinely believe we'll have some amazing results. I think we'll do some amazing things. I do want European football for next season. I think we sort of have to. So maybe do we go 7th? I think maybe 7th because I think we need European football. So I don't know if 7th or 8th does, and then we do that. But to say we're going to finish 4th or 5th, I think the expectations are not right, and you're almost setting yourself up for failure. You know, imagine if we get tanked by Arsenal, the knives are going to be out. As a fan base, I think that we need to be together on this one. I mean, it's interesting those who are not together, and again, people are so frustrated and they have their opinions on this. But I think if we deserve, and I think the manager deserves for us to be together on this one. You know, I think we're going to have some amazing results. We may get tanked by Arsenal. I think we need to be prepared for that. I do. I think there's such a good outfit. Basically against Arsenal, we're going to have pretty much the same team we've had all season. Last season, who pre-season wise have been okay. Šeško's never played in this team before. Cunha, he's there or thereabouts, but I think he's still got another 20% in him. And Burmo's clearly not fit. So we're going to go into this team with a hope and a prayer. And Nana's still going to be in goal. So we've got to be prepared against Arsenal that we could get tanked. But is that the manager's fault? No, it's not the manager's fault. So tactically, yes, we can argue that, and I think he'll do his best. But I think we're going to have some results that are up and down. We may lose the first game, then we may go on and win the next 2 or 3. I think that's how we're going to do this season. I think we're going to have some great results. I think we'll have a very Ten Hag season. I don't think we'll play like Ten Hag, but I think we'll have a very Ten Hag season. Well, I think we might get tanked in the first game, and then we go on and we get a couple of points here and there. I think we've got to be prepared for this. We've got to stick it through for next season. Now, we've got these players in, and we're going to build. So those of you who are Ineos in, it would be foolish not to believe in what it is that they're trying to do. I'm not Ineos in, or like the Glazers in, but I am United in, and I want to be like how we used to be, and we give managers and players time and we back them. So I think that it's really important for us to temper our expectations. Yeah, we're going to have results along the way that are not great. In fact, there will be people screaming for him to be out. But I think as long as we are realistic this year, then I think we'll have a good season. I think we'll have a better season. And I think as a fan base, we'll definitely be happier. And like, how can you not be? You know, if we get Baleba, a keeper, and these players, I think we'll be a lot happier. We'll see them grow together as a team, as a young team as well. We've got Manu, who's exciting, Dorgu, Ahmad, so many good players. I do think that if we are realistic, jumping from 15th to 8th, I think is great. I'd love to beat the Geordies. I'm not going to lie. After the amount of stick that we got, I'd love to beat them. But let's see. I do think anything's possible. I think 4th, 5th may be unrealistic. I'd love a 5th. But I think that realistically, if I'm going to go with my head, I'd go 8th. Anything on top of that, I think would be amazing. And I'm just looking forward to a better, exciting season with hopefully a manager now who's a bit more streetwise, and with players who know this league. Some don't, but with a bit more of a togetherness, and hopefully we can have a much better season. Let's go through some of these chats. Let's have a little look. Support Cunha. Our current CMs won't allow him to play like he did at Wolves. That's why he will flop. Not actually flop. I know exactly what you mean. I think I said this yesterday, that I don't think Cunha's numbers are going to be the same. I just don't think he will, because he's not going to be the main man of the team. He's not going to be the focal point. He's not going to be the star. But what he brings, I think the attributes to what he brings, when he starts linking up with the players, I think his assists may get better. I think his goals will drop, but I think he'll definitely have a better season. But I do agree. I don't think his numbers are going to be the same, but I wouldn't see that as a flop. And Burmo crossing is beautiful. Shesko will meet those exactly. And Burmo, I like him, Burmo. I want him match fit as soon as he can be, and I think he's going to be great. SAFC Tom, hello, my friend. Hope you're doing really well tonight, my friend. There, Sunderland fan. You're welcome here, my friend. You know, yeah. Put some nice deliveries in. JB, Shesko's height and jumping ability means he can make bad crosses look like good ones. Yeah, massive. If you've seen this kid jump, he jumps like a gazelle. Amazing. Neil Crowd, yeah, his jumping ability is insane. We need to get Europa League spot for money. Yeah, I agree. We do need it. I do think we definitely need a Europa League spot, but if 8th is that, 7th or 8th, then I think we should be able to get that. I really do. So I'm sort of with you on that. I mean, I'd like to finish 7th, 8th. Anything more for me is a massive bonus. The drone tour of the new facility was fire. Yeah, I agree. I really like it. What they've done there is amazing, really. No, as I'll say, I'm not a fan of everything Ineos has done, and I'm still not, and I'm still yet to, and it's not a conversation for now. I'm not a massive fan of everything they've done, but I'll say that is a stepping stone. That's a stepping stone on the right thing to do, and they've done a cracking job. And I'll say there, you know, that's a worthy investment. Don't necessarily on whether we agree or not on the staffing. I think that's a conversation for another day. But if we're talking about playing staff right now, and we can't ignore all the other important stuff, but I agree with you. I think the Carrington thing cannot be understated as the positive impact that will have on these players. ST13 says, I think after the game we'll see Fiorentina. Shesko will be on the bench. Yeah, agreed. I don't like number 10s as strikers. It's a very Arsenal thing to do. I worry about the pivot against Arsenal. I really do. I really worry about the pivot. I hope that Ugarte is going to play. I just hope that I'm hoping he's learnt from last season, because we're basically going to see the same team from last season other than 2 players. I think Shesko's on the bench. I really do. So let's see if Aaron, what he's learnt from last season. I think a draw would be a good result for that game. So let's see what we can do there. Tottenham's loss was on Amorim. He could have done better, but I'll want him to stay for the next 10 years at least. Yeah, agreed. I agree with you. I think the Spurs final was on him. I think, you know, we no matter how I think we should give him time, I've said that before. For me, it's one of if you're asking for red flags and things, that was a red flag for me. But he'll learn from that. And hopefully that he will learn from that and can progress this season. Forget to clean up the drinking culture. Exactly, Neil. 100%, mate. People forget that. I agree with you on 8th, but if we get a top midfielder, turn a keeper, we could challenge for top 5 if we have a good season. Rob, I think I agree with you, mate. I'd love us to do that, my friend. I would. Let's see what we can do. Neil, you learn more in defeats. Yeah, agreed. You learn more by losing, as I've known throughout my whole life. You learn more in defeats, and then you come back stronger. And that's a sign. That's a sign of a good person. That's a sign of a good coach. Is that you learn and you don't make the same mistakes twice. Sometimes you do, which sort of can't be helped. But you do learn from those mistakes. What do you think is an expected return for the first 5 games if we get Baleba? I think originally I said 8 from 8. let's go to your Man United fixtures. Let's go for this. And we can go for this together if you want to. We can go for this together. So we've got Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley, City, Chelsea. Jesus Christ. I think we draw against Arsenal. I think we beat Fulham. We beat Burnley. I think we lose City and draw Chelsea. So I think we get 1, 4, 7, 8. 8. And that's changed. So if you watch that, that's changed. I think we get 8 from those first 5 games. I think we've got to expect losses. I think the City machine will be up and thereabouts by that game as well. Chelsea might have bedded in by that as well. So I think 8, and I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I think, again, if we were to win all those games, but I would like 8 points from those games. So let's see how we do in that. AFCON, yeah, I agree. I think we need to realise amongst all other clubs we will get one of the hardest. I agree, Hesty. I think we've got an absolute absolute shocking first games. Yeah, might take until the first international break from Burma. Yeah, again, Neil, it's going to take a while for him, I think, buddy, to catch up. I'm waiting for conspiracy theory. Okay, right. This is my conspiracy theory. Okay, so how can we spend all this money? Right. So this is my conspiracy theory on this. And I've been thinking this now for quite a bit of time. So how can we spend all this money? So we've gone from being broke at Christmas to not having a lot of money. We can't do X, Y, and Z. Now, yes, we bearing in mind we've not sold players yet, and apparently we don't need to sell players. Okay, so we know the Garnacho money's going to come in. Let's just call it 40 million. Okay, that's going to come in. Okay, Rasmus maybe next season it's going to be an option to buy, maybe another 40 million. Sancho, 95 to 100 million. Rashford next season maybe. But with all these, not only these player sales, the player sales and potential player sales for next season, because this is where this is going to come out of this financial year, so we can build that in to next financial year. Okay, so basically we can project our income, right? That's how it works. Okay, so we projected that we spent X, Y, and Z with the amortization, okay, factor. Players, we would have paid for them, so we won't be paying for them anymore, and we'll just let's just say, for example, our yearly spend on players was 200 million. We brought these players on, and again, it's say like, I don't know, it goes up to 400 million. I'm not saying it's the case. But then with all these players sales for next season, players not being here, wages saved, the amortization, the way that we've structured the deals. So the net impact of that might actually bring it down to like 180 million in payments a year, right? So it may even bring it down to like 150. So say we've gone from 200 with the net effect of everything that happens, say it's like 150. So that brings that down, okay? Europe as well might bring another 50 in, but we've still got, how can we still pay for these players? I think that Bruno has agreed to go to Saudi next season. And I think we're projecting income from Bruno for next season. I think Bruno said, look, I'll stay for one more year, but you've got to build this team, and I'll stay for a year now. Mainu can be the understudy for a year, but I think we know that Bruno's going to go next year for about 80 to 100 million cash. And I think that that's what we're doing. It's a wild theory, and people may not agree with that, but I think Bruno, I think there's something there with him. I think he's going to go next season for a guaranteed price. Maybe it was a case of you go this season, you pay the price, 120 million. Maybe he's agreed that he'll go next season for 80 to 100 million. And I do think that we have projected that into next season. Bruno next season, we've got 31, 32 next season. I think that's perfect. So I think that we've partly agreed that Bruno will go next season. and we are projecting the money from Bruno for next season, and that's why we've basically gone, let's just get it done this season, because we know all the income is next season. Bruno coming in, and I think that is where we are this season. So it's just a conspiracy for me, but that's what I think. 8 points, maybe I agree. The start will be rough. I agree with that one. With that Baleba, so it'll be rough. With that Baleba 5, surely we can beat Fulham and Burnley with no Baleba. JB, if we sign Baleba and Lemens or Donna, which 4 positions should we target next summer, and what type of names would you go after? That's a very, very, very good question. I think we need a Luke Shaw replacement, a Martinez replacement. I think we need. Oh, that's a very good question. I think we need another striker. I'd go for another striker. I think we need another centre back. I'd go for centre back. Now, if you're asking me names, I mean, at this point, I mean, I'd have to think about that. I'll go on positional wise. I don't know about names right now. I'd like an Eze in. I think we need to strengthen right wing back. I mean, saying wing back, I know annoys people. But I think I'd go for a proper right wing back next season. I would have liked a Frimpong this year, but you go for a Frimpong type. Jomo says, I think Bruno doesn't want to go for cultural reasons, most likely from his missus. I don't know about that, mate. I think probably. I don't think it was that, mate. I think he wants the European football. I don't know religiously what his missus is. You could be right on that one, mate. But again, for a conspiracy theory, I do think he'll go. So I think what we do next season is we get rid of the Luke Shaws. We get rid of Delone next season. So I'd get rid of Shaw, Delone next season. You may be looking at an Ugarte. I'm not saying that he should go. Maybe you get rid of a Xerxes. I don't necessarily agree with these, but for me, Delone and Shaw have to go. We get another wing back in. Maybe we sell Ahmad next season. I don't agree with that, but I think what you then do is we've got these players in, like a Xerxes. Can we improve on a Xerxes? Yes. On an Ahmad for me is, if he's not a number 10, what do we do with him? Maybe we cash in on him as well. So I think that depending on what we do, it's going to be more about upgrading the peripheral players. Maybe we feel like we've got enough depth in the squad, but I feel like we need to then upgrade the peripheral players. So Luke Shaw for me, go. Casemiro's gone. Maybe we replace Casemiro, get Casemiro gone. Delone gone. So I think those 3 positions, and I think it's more about depth in the team. We go get another striker, like a proper number 2 striker. That could be a number 1 striker. So I think I'd go striker, right wing back, another centre back. Delone, get him gone as well. Obviously, if Rashford's still here, you've got to get rid of him as well. If Anthony's still here, so for me, I think those are the key, and then you strengthen up your team to then maybe that year have a little look at a title charge. As for players, I don't know right now. I think as the season progresses, I think there'll be more and more players. But the players that I would have gone for are sort of all gone out. So I think this is a season now where we start looking at actually what players do we want to go for again. So this is going to be a scouting season for me as well, because the players that I would want have already gone. So Niche fan just can't see beating Fulham without midfielder. He's going to play Ugarte and Bruno, which is basically like having a massive hole to run through. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Shiveram, wow, I just hope that you're right, mate. I'd love to see the obsession with. Oh yeah, I know. I agree with that one. Inacio, yeah. Anderson, Walton, yeah. I think Walton for me would be good. But then if you bring in a Walton, what are we saying about a Mainu? At that point, if you're bringing a Walton, that's a Fernandez replacement for me. That's a Mainu replacement for me. So this is why I think next year will be a really interesting one next season. So Donna wants 300k a week. Yeah, see you later on that one. It's not for me, but if the club want to do that, but then they're breaking their own structure that they put in place. So it's a no from me, but do you get an opportunity to sort of replace these players? Niche fan, Donna doesn't care about trophies. Exactly. I do. He strikes me as that, and that's why I'm 50-50 on him. We new crowd. Wharton played well today. Exactly, and is it a surprise that they won? I mean, the penalties today were awful. I thought the penalties today were absolutely dreadful penalties today. Good on Palace, you know, and that's one of the other things that I wanted to mention as well about where we're going to finish in the league. A load of other teams have had a settled squad manager for the last couple of years, right? You know, let's not discount the likes of an Everton, right? Everton, Moyes back there. You know, he's going to do some good stuff there. You know, they're going to get some good players. A new ground. He's a fox as well. You know, he's an old school guy. You know, Fulham, Burnley. You know, let's not discount. You know, these like a Brighton, an Aston Villa, a Newcastle. Let's not forget Newcastle. For all what we've said and what they still finished fifth or fourth, fifth in like the Champions League. You know, they're still a settled team. So these are teams that we need to, not only do we have to catch up with, but we're fighting against their settled teams. So, you know, as Palace proved today. Doesn't matter how much money you spend when you're playing against Premier League teams. They're no mugs. Like there are levels that the top four can go to, but there's not ultimately that much between the top 10 teams really. Not on a day. Throughout a season, of course they are, because they've got bigger squads. But on a day, anybody can beat anybody. So I think that's where we need to be careful and give Fulham complete respect. I think we should go for Camavinga, Inacio, Hakimi. Camavinga, I don't think we'd get him. Hakimi, I think forget that as well. But some good names there. I think Wharton, I think is one that we're going to be eyeing up for that. If we was paying 70 million, that's about 26 mil. Who's better out there, Camavinga or Tchouaméni? Ooh, Kevin's just signing a new contract. No way to get him. I think if we've got Baleba, then I don't think we need those two. I think we need a Wharton. I think they're too defensive. I think we need a Wharton type of player, and I do think that's probably sort of where we go. Do we really want a really defensive pivot? We could go for an ultra defensive pivot if we've got those two, Mbermo, Cunha, the wing backs. Then maybe we can go for those two defensive pivot players in there. But let's see. According to me, based on PSR calcs, Cunha on last year's book would have spent 12 mil for me. So even if we had Leon, Cunha, it's just 35 mil. Yeah, we do. I do believe. I really believe that we have the money. Agree with you completely. But we'll still need to balance the books with player sales. Chilip, don't get me wrong, I love Donnarumma, but we can't afford his wages. Akoum, and again, Akoum is the one. Is the one that is the next name on here that people are clambering for. I do like the player. Is he a French international? 23, around that sort of age as well. Would that be a difficult deal to do with Inter Milan? I don't know. But also I wanted to mention as well, actually, before I think about leaving as well, is Calvert-Lewin has been mentioned as well as a second striker. Now, I know many of you wouldn't mind him. Let me just see what else is out there before I go. I've been saying on here literally since the first show about Lewin and how I think he's going to come. That's one prediction I do not want to get right. Yeah, that's not one for me. I do agree that we definitely need a box to box midfielder. I'm just checking through because typically what happens is I'll go in and then that's it. So a little look. No, it's all good in that front. Fabrizio, what's he saying? No. Yep. So that's where we are. Stieler, I like Stieler as well. Seems simple to me. Let's identify who Brighton's replacement for Baleba is, sweep him behind their backs and sign him. I like that. I really do. I'm not against the backup to Sheska, however. Injuries are a huge risk. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not for me. I don't want him anywhere near the club. I think that whatever we'd give him in wages, you might as well stick it in the bin. To be honest with you, Shivram, thank you, buddy. I'm going to end the show there as well, my friend. Thank you for joining. Pressure is different here. Exactly that. So I'm going to end the show there. Another hour and 20 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. Time on here just flies by. I think the chat we have on here is amazing. As per always, it is a amazing community. Thanks to Tulip, Shivram, Neil, Niche, Can't Compete. What else we got in there? Neil Crowd as well. Thanks, buddy. What else we got? Jomo's in there as well. I don't miss any. Rob, as always. OB, legend. SAFC Tom, again, don't really do much in here, but legend. Thank you for being here, my friend. Hesty, of course. Hesty, how you doing? I think that's pretty. Roundly as well. Thank you so much for the comments. Yeah, another amazing show. We are getting bigger. Over 7,000 now, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. We are. I shall tell you what we are now. At the minute, we are nearly on our way to 8,000, nearly 7,500, which is ridiculous. I'll always say this is that one of the things is that you can't buy time. You cannot buy time. It's the one thing in life you can't buy, no matter how much cash you got in life, is you can't buy time. And the fact you spent time with me tonight, today, a minute, second, an hour, it genuinely blows my mind, and I hope it comes across like I sincerely mean this. Is that it's amazing that you want to be here. It's amazing you choose to be here, interact with the community. We're building a little family here as well. It feels like that. It's just amazing. And he says, well, we've got to start somewhere better than the toxic stand Brent has created. I can't say too much on that one, to be fair. I think communities like this are really important, where everybody has an opinion, right? I'll try to drive the show, and of course I'm going to have my opinions on stuff as well, and I will agree in and out of different stuff where I think I agree, and maybe I sort of have a stronger opinion. But I'm never going to shout your opinions down. I drive the show. This is your show. This is as much yours as it is mine, and I'll come on here with opinions, and I'll come on with certain things, but it's for us to debate this. I think as true fans, and whether you go to games or not, that doesn't. I've supported this club for 38 years. I've spent many a afternoon, watching this club, just absolutely up and down, and it's important. And I think you guys need a place to come and just vent as well. And sometimes you may vent at me, and I know it's not meant in that way right now. People don't tend to do that, but I can imagine as we get through games, it's going to be quite fraught. And I do like how we are respectful of each other's opinions on here. I think it's really, really important, and that's all thanks to you guys. You're building this community, and I want to make it the biggest out there. not necessarily for me, that would be amazing, but to show people how amazing this community is already, and we can do something different than everyone else, and I think that's what makes us different, is that we are like a little family on here. This is our community, and I do love how we all protect each other. At times there are people that come into this chat, and I can see this protective thing that we have of each other's views as well. So I love that. So thank you to you all. I am going to go on holiday in the next couple of days, so I'm going to try to do some stuff. I'm going to be on holiday for the Arsenal game, so I'm hoping I can still jump on for that and watch that and do all that good stuff as well. So you're probably going to see me with a background of sand and sea and boats and that kind of stuff. So, but for the next couple of days, I'll be on here as normal. Obviously, don't forget to give us a like, favourite and subscribe. Come into this amazing community. And of course, if anything breaks, I will be back on. And I will see you very, very soon. Take care, whatever you're doing. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'll see you very soon, guys. Take care and God bless.